On a quiet evening in Arlington, Virginia, Major General Alicia Thompson, a decorated black female officer, stepped out of her car to face a routine traffic stop that would unravel into a shocking display of prejudice, leading to a single phone call that turned the tables and shattered the careers of those who dared to underestimate her. On a chilly October evening in 2025, Major General Alicia Thompson drove through the streets of Arlington, Virginia, her mind preoccupied with the upcoming Pentagon briefing she was scheduled to deliver. At 47, she was one of the highest-ranking black female officers in the U.S. Army, a trailblazer whose career was defined by resilience, intellect, and an unyielding commitment to service. Her tailored uniform, adorned with the stars of her rank, sat neatly in the back seat, a reminder of the weight she carried as a leader. She was returning from a community event where she had spoken to young women about leadership, a role she cherished as much as her military duties. The streets were quiet, the city winding down, when red and blue lights flashed in her rearview mirror. Alicia pulled over promptly, her hands visible on the steering wheel, a habit ingrained from years of navigating a world where her presence often invited scrutiny. She was no stranger to the complexities of being a black woman in America, even one with her credentials. As a two-star general, she had faced skepticism, microaggressions, and outright hostility, but she had always risen above it. Tonight, however, would test her composure in ways she couldn't have anticipated. Two officers, Patrolman Daniel Harris and Sergeant Michael Connors, approached her vehicle. Harris, a wiry man in his late 20s with a tense demeanor, shone his flashlight into Alicia's face, ignoring her calm greeting. Connors, older and broader, stood a few steps back, his hand resting on his holster. The air was thick with an unspoken assumption, one Alicia had felt too many times before. "License and registration," Harris demanded, his tone clipped. Alicia complied, handing over her documents with a steady hand. She mentioned, almost as an afterthought, that she was a major general in the U.S. Army, hoping to diffuse any tension. Harris's eyes narrowed, and Connors let out a low chuckle, exchanging a glance that suggested they didn't believe her. "Step out of the vehicle," Harris ordered, his voice now edged with authority. Alicia frowned, asking for clarification. She had been driving within the speed limit, her car was in order, and there was no visible reason for escalation. Harris repeated the command, louder this time, and Connors stepped closer, his posture aggressive. Alicia's heart rate quickened, not out of fear, but out of a growing realization that this stop was not about a traffic violation. She stepped out, her movements deliberate, her voice calm but firm. "Officers, I'm asking for the reason for this stop. I've complied with your requests." Harris ignored her, grabbing her arm and spinning her around. Before she could process the roughness, cold metal clicked around her wrists. Handcuffs. The indignity hit her like a punch to the gut. A major general, a woman who had commanded thousands, was being treated like a common criminal on a quiet suburban street. "You're detaining me?" Alicia asked, her voice steady but laced with disbelief. Connors smirked, muttering something about attitude and suspicious behavior. Harris claimed her car matched the description of one involved in a robbery, a flimsy excuse that didn't hold up under scrutiny. Alicia's vehicle, a sleek black SUV with government plates, was hardly the profile of a getaway car. She pointed this out, but the officers dismissed her, their tone dripping with condescension. As they led her to the patrol car, Alicia's mind raced. She knew the statistics. Black Americans were disproportionately stopped, detained, and subjected to excessive force by police. She had counseled soldiers on navigating these encounters, but experiencing it firsthand was a different kind of violation. The cuffs bit into her wrists, a physical reminder of the power imbalance at play. Yet, even in this moment, Alicia's training kicked in. She remained composed, her voice measured, refusing to give them the reaction they seemed to expect. At the patrol car, Harris began a cursory search of her vehicle, tossing her briefcase onto the pavement without care. Inside were classified documents for her Pentagon briefing, a fact she calmly pointed out. Connors scoffed, accusing her of making up stories to avoid trouble. The accusation stung, But Alicia's focus shifted to de-escalation. She asked for their names and badge numbers, a request that seemed to irritate Harris further. "You don't get to make demands," he snapped, slamming the car door shut. At the station, the situation grew more absurd. Alicia was placed in a holding area, still handcuffed, as officers processed her for resisting and obstructing. The charge was baseless, but the paperwork gave them cover. She sat quietly, her mind calculating her next move. She knew her rights, her rank, and the resources at her disposal. The officers, however, seemed oblivious to the storm they had unleashed. After nearly an hour, Alicia was allowed a phone call. She didn't hesitate. She dialed a direct line to the Pentagon, reaching Colonel Marcus Reed, her deputy and a trusted confidant. In a calm, authoritative tone, she explained the situation. Detained without cause, handcuffed, and disrespected by officers who refused to acknowledge her identity. Reed, a seasoned officer himself, was outraged but professional. He assured her he would handle it and hung up to make calls of his own. Within minutes, the Pentagon's machinery began to turn. Reed contacted the Office of the Secretary of Defense, alerting them to the detention of a senior officer. The news reached General Charles Whitaker, a four-star general and Alicia's mentor, who was incensed. He called the Arlington Police Department directly, demanding answers. The shift supervisor, caught off guard, scrambled to verify Alicia's identity. A quick check of her military ID, which the officers had ignored, confirmed she was indeed Major General Alicia Thompson, a decorated officer with a spotless record. The mood at the station shifted dramatically. The supervisor, Captain Laura Bennett, arrived and ordered Alicia's immediate release. The handcuffs were removed, and apologies were stammered, but Alicia's expression remained unreadable. She declined to engage further, requesting only the officers' names and the incident report. Bennett, visibly shaken, assured her the matter would be investigated. The fallout was swift and severe. By morning, the incident had reached the desks of senior Pentagon officials and the media. A viral video, captured by a bystander's phone, showed Harris's aggressive demeanor and Connors's dismissive attitude. The public outcry was immediate, with hashtags like #Justice for General Thompson trending on X. Civil rights groups demanded accountability, and the Arlington Police Department faced intense scrutiny. An internal investigation was launched, but the evidence was damning. Body camera footage revealed Harris and Connors mocking Alicia's claim of being a general, with racial undertones that were impossible to ignore. Harris had a history of complaints for excessive force, while Connors had been disciplined for discriminatory remarks in the past. The investigation concluded that their actions were not only unjustified but rooted in bias. Both officers were suspended without pay, and within weeks, they were terminated. The department issued a public apology, but the damage to their reputation was irreparable. For Alicia, the incident was a stark reminder of the challenges she had faced throughout her career. She had risen through the ranks in a male-dominated, often racially charged environment, earning her stars through sheer determination. Yet, this encounter showed that even her rank couldn't shield her from prejudice. She chose not to dwell on the incident publicly, instead focusing on her work. At the Pentagon briefing, she delivered a flawless presentation, her poise unbroken by the ordeal. The story didn't end with the officer's termination. The incident sparked a broader conversation about police reform and systemic racism. Alicia became an inadvertent symbol of resilience, though she shunned the spotlight. She agreed to meet with Arlington's police chief to discuss training improvements, emphasizing de-escalation and bias awareness. Her input led to a new mandatory program for officers, one that used her experience as a case study. Harris and Connors faced more than professional consequences. Civil lawsuits followed, with Alicia's legal team arguing that her detention was a violation of her rights. The officers' careers were effectively over, their names synonymous with a high-profile scandal. Connors attempted to appeal his termination, but the evidence was overwhelming. Harris left the state, his reputation in tatters. Alicia, meanwhile, continued her ascent. She was promoted to lieutenant general the following year, a testament to her leadership and grace under pressure. She rarely spoke of the incident, but when asked, she offered a measured response. "My job is to serve and protect this nation." That night, I was reminded that some battles are fought off the battlefield. I fought and I won. Not for me, but for every person who's ever been underestimated. The incident left a lasting mark on Arlington's police department. New policies were implemented, including mandatory body camera reviews and stricter oversight of traffic stops. The department's leadership acknowledged that change was overdue, and Alicia's case became a catalyst for reform. Her call to the Pentagon, made in a moment of clarity amidst chaos, had not only secured her release but had exposed a deeper truth about power, prejudice, and accountability. Years later, Alicia's story was taught in military leadership courses, a case study in resilience and authority. It was a reminder that rank and accomplishment could not erase the color of one's skin, but they could amplify a voice that refused to be silenced. For those who witnessed her stand, it was clear. Major General Alicia Thompson was not just a soldier. She was a force, one that no handcuffs could restrain.